Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala thumma ma ba'd. So right now they're just corralling the youths. So I'm gonna get you brothers up to speed on what we were covering before, uh, the salah. So essentially, the hadith that is being narrated, it's narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. He is the cousin of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he ended up becoming one of the notable scholars from amongst the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He narrated 1,660 ahadith from the Prophet ﷺ. And this is due to a number of reasons. Number one, he was blessed to have a natural talent, intelligence. This was observed by the Prophet ﷺ. Then, of course, you have the dua of the Prophet ﷺ for him. Allahumma allimhu ta'wil wa faqihu fi din, or Allahumma faqihu fi din wa allimhu ta'wil. Oh Allah, give him a deep or insight and understanding of the religion, and teach him the meaning and the interpretation of the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ, right, made special dua for him. And then thirdly, his hard efforts and his hard work. He put in a lot of work to learn and reach where he reached by the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? It was mentioned that, most of the hadith that he narrated, he did not hear directly from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he heard from the likes of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Umar ibn Khattab, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. So he was an ardent student, right? So he put in a lot of time and effort going, learning, and benefiting from them. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam teach? What did the Prophet ﷺ do? What were his values? What was his aqidah? And so on, right? Also, that he was with the Prophet ﷺ at the time that this hadith occurred, and that it was just a regular mundane moment. He said, Kuntu radifa Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I was like riding behind him, maybe like on a donkey, right? Some modest animal, right? And so it's not like a classroom setting. It's not like in the masjid, at a halaqah where everyone's sitting together, but just a regular living everyday life moment. And one of the lessons that we learn from this, brothers and sisters, is that Islam should be a normative part of your life. It shouldn't be like, okay, I'm at work and Islam is something separate. Okay, right now we're at the soccer game for my kids, so Islam is something different. La, 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 la. Right? Whether you're in your car, whether you're at the masjid, whether you're at the madrasa, it's Eid or it's Tuesday. Islam should be an everyday part of your life. And conversation and communication about Islam should be a regular, daily part of your life. And at this moment, I'm kind of speaking in particular to the adults and the parents and the uncles and so on, but also even the young people, even the kids who flip bottles in the class, in the masjid, right? Even them, that should be a regular part. It shouldn't be weird if you're playing at your cousin's house and y'all are all playing and salat times come. You shouldn't be embarrassed or shy to be like, it's time for us to stop playing the game and we're going to go pray right now. That should be regular and normal. And your kids are only going to feel like that if you and I as parents make that normal for them. But if the parents never talk to their kids about it and they just make them do, then when they go to those other settings like at school, then it's going to be, if they don't talk to them, it will be weird for them to pray. There are so many of our Muslim youth who we don't even consider and think about this. How many people ask your kids, do they even pray at school? Because for sure, the everyday normal lingo conversation about religion, God, the hereafter, prophets, angels, etc., that is not normal conversation at school. In America, that's not regular everyday conversation. But for the Muslim, that should be normal. It doesn't mean that they can't talk about the Vikings. It doesn't mean they can't talk about Crawford and, the boxing match. It doesn't mean they can't talk about Messi and video games and so on. But just like everybody talks about that normally, as the Muslim, that should be normal for us to talk about our religion. But there are even some schools. My own children went to a school, right, where 99% of the children were Muslim. 99%. It wasn't a private school, right? but it was a charter school. 99% of the kids are Muslim. I remember going to the school and speaking to one of the staff, administrative staff, about my children being able to pray, right? Which, by the way, first and foremost, it's your God-given right, and it is the right of Allah that we pray, but also it's your constitutional right, freedom of religion. It's in the Constitution. So I went to them and I told them, my kids need reasonable accommodations. They're not going to pray in front of the class, which is what they offered my daughter. She's not going to pray in front of the class. She's not going to pray in the hallway where anybody's walking and anybody could just kick her when she's making sujood. Anybody could just mess around, play around. You know how kids are. They might be playing. I said, no. She needs a space, quiet space. They have to do this for my kids. You know what this lady, the administrator, told me? She said, you are the first parent to come and talk to us about children praying. I thought that was the strangest thing. 99%. Matter of fact, now that I don't even if there is a non-Muslim child, I don't even know who that kid is in the school. That's how few there are. But when I ask my kids, how many of the kids pray? None of them pray. But my daughter is not in 2nd grade. My daughter is not in 3rd grade. She's in 8th grade. That means many of them, it's wajib to pray. And I hope you understand what I mean is wajib. That many of them would have already reached puberty. But many of them, they don't. Because why? Because nobody talks to them about doing that. Obviously, their social studies teacher is not going to talk to them. The math teacher is not going to talk to them. Who has to talk to them? We do. You have to check. Muhammad, did you pray today? I know you had soccer. I know you had math. I know you had whatever. But did you excuse yourself from the class? And say, you have to talk to them about that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he's showing us this. And it's a normal, regular thing. I hope that makes sense, y'all. Tayyib. Then what does he teach him? He says, Ihfadillah yahfadak. Right? Protect Allah from the word hifz. Right? Just like when children are making hifz of the Quran and they're memorizing the Quran, i.e. they're protecting it in their minds and in their hearts. It's being protected now. They're holding on to it. Protecting. Tayyib? So now, what does the Prophet ﷺ mean when he says, Ihfadillah? Can you protect Allah? And I'm asking all of you now, Ya Mashaykh, can you protect Allah? Can you defend him? Can you? I'm asking you. Ya Jama'ah, can you protect Allah? Of course you can't. Does he need our protection? He doesn't need our protection, aslan. Right? So what does it mean then to be ihfadillah? Or what does it mean then, ihfadillah? It means to be mindful and to protect the duties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on you. To be mindful of them and to protect them. Especially the 5 daily prayers. Especially the wudu. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, لا يحافظ على الوضوء إلا المؤمن أو كما قاله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. You know, nobody preserves and protects ويحافظ on his wudu except for the believer. Because they're always trying to be in a state of purity. It doesn't mean you don't go to the bathroom. It doesn't mean you don't go to sleep. It doesn't mean you don't, etc. But they're constantly trying to be in a state of purity, but especially the prayers. Especially the 5 daily prayers. So it means when it says ihfadillah, it means mindful of the duties, as this ustad he said over here, of the master. The master has said, do this, fast, pray, etc. In my mind and in my heart, I'm mindful of that, so I protect it. Does that make sense, y'all? So that's one. And then the other thing is staying away from his prohibitions and protecting and holding the line when it comes to that. And in doing so, in protecting what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made important, what he has designated, you need to do this or you have to do that. In you protecting that, it will be reciprocated. Then Allah will protect you. Ihfadillah yahfadak. Be mindful of Allah's laws. Be mindful of his regulations. I.e., when you're living your daily life and you're at the Mall of America and the little app on your phone says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You don't say, okay, we're going to see what we can do, finish everything, and then we're going to try to go home, and then we're going to try to pray. But you're going to do what? It's time to pray. Alhamdulillah. Did you bring the sajada? Do you have it? All right, we're going to go here and we're going to pray at Mall of America. We're at Target, you know what I'm saying? And it's not winter time, Allah musta'an. If it's not the winter time, in the parking lot. Wherever you need to do it. I'm at work, ihfadillah. You're in an important meeting, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I got to step out for a minute. And I'll be right back. This is important to me. I know that but I have something that is more important. Does that make sense? Ihfadillah. And this is something very important that we need to teach our children. To be mindful and to be protective of that. That they have to be proud of their Islam no matter where they are. Right? How many issues and problems would be solved in our ummah, in our community, if our children, right? If they were mindful of Allah and they didn't care about other people. And they didn't care. I don't care what they think that I'm wearing this on my head. I don't care what they think that I look like. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with me, if this is pleasing to Allah, then I'm good. How different would our community be? But that only comes what? When we normalize and make it normal for them. We have to go above and beyond, and we have to go. Especially living in America, because we're not back home. Back home, everybody would be doing the same thing for the most part. For the most part. Not only you, but your cousins, the aunties and the uncles, and you know what I'm saying, and everybody, and the masjids down the street from the house. It would be normal. Not here. Not here. You are the first sheikh for your children. Before the ma'alin, before the imam, before anybody else. You. So be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in doing so, Allah will be mindful of you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tajidhu tujahak. You will find him in front of you. And this is, subhanallah, something that we learn in our deen, that what you put out into the world, that is what you will get. Did y'all hear that? What you put out into the world, what you put out, that's what you will get. What do I mean that the deen teaches us this? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman, irhamu man fil ardi, yarhamukum man fis sama. That have mercy. Ar-Rahimuna, those who have mercy, those who are characteristically merciful, not just once, but they are known as merciful people. Yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. Then the one who is the most merciful, he will have mercy on them. Irhamu man fil ardi. Have mercy on the people of the earth. Yarhamukum man fis sama. Then the one who is above the heavens, he will have mercy on you. But do you see how Allah, if you have mercy on people, Allah will deal with you with mercy. Another example. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, كَانَ اللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ عَبْدِهِ مَا كَانَ الْعَبْدُ فِي عَوْنِ أَخِيهِ. That so long as the servant, brother or sister, male or female, so long as they are serving and helping their brothers and sisters, كَانَ اللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ عَبْدِ أَخِيهِ. كَانَ اللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ أَخِيهِ. كَانَ اللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ عَبْدِهِ. That Allah will be at their aid and their service. You are helping people, looking after their needs, being helpful to them, then Allah will be at your service, helping you, looking after your needs. The point is what? What you do, that's what you get back. And lastly, one more example, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, right? كَمَا تُدِينُ تُدَانُ. How you treat people, that's what will happen to you. And this is one of the important ways that we understand our religion, right? Is that when you put good into the world, you will get good from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you put good into the world, you will get good from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَمَا الْجَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا إِحْسَانِ. What is the reward for good except more good? What is the reward for good? When you do good, when you do righteousness, when you help people, serve people, take care of people, look after orphans, look after the new Muslim, take care of the young kids, teach them the Quran, help others, be dutiful to your parents, etc. When you do good, you will get good. طيب. And this is something that we have to teach our children. طيب. And then he goes on, and this is very important. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. Right? Or excuse me, وَإِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. And this is very important. When you ask of Allah, and when you seek help from Allah. Right? Now, this is something that we're taught in the Quran as well. And every last one of you, you know it already. From Surah Al-Fatiha. Where is in Surah Al-Fatiha? Huh? Before that. I'm sorry. What did you say? Iyyaka na'budu? Sorry, yes. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship, and you alone nasta'in. We seek help. And the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us the same, or teaching Ibn Abbas, and by extension all of us, the same lesson. When you get sick, before you go to the doctor and before you go to the medicine cabinet, ask Allah. Seek help from Allah. It doesn't mean don't take the medicine. You should take the medicine. You shouldn't go to the doctor if you need to. But who is going to put the cure in the medicine? Who is going to make the skills and the education and the application that the doctor gives, who's going to make that successful? I'm asking you. Is Allah. Because there are people who get sick, they take all the medication, they do everything the doctor told them to do, they do all the precautions, they change their diet, they start exercising, and they still don't get better. They thought the cancer was in remission, and it comes back. And there are other people who still smoking, and they never get cancer. Or they do go to the doctor, and they barely do what the doctor tells them, and they still get cured. Because the cure is in whose hands? It's not in the doctor's hands. Because if it was in the doctor's hands, he would try to cure everybody that comes to him. But some people, they benefit from it, and some people, they don't. And for that reason, it makes sense that you, before I go to the doctor, before I take the medication, I ask Allah, the one who, مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ دَاءٍ إِلَّا أَنزَلَ لَهُ شِفَاءً. Allah didn't send down a disease except that He sent down with it a cure. If He's the one who did that, then I should ask Him. Same when it comes to if you're struggling with your studies, if you're struggling with your relationship, if you have some issue at your work, whatever it might be, first and foremost, ask Allah. And if you seek help from Him. And this is something, again, very important to teach our young and for ourselves. It teaches us to be independent as much as possible. To be independent of the khalq and human beings and people. People get sick, they get tired. Sometimes they get sick of you asking. You ask one time, 2 times, 3 times, can I borrow some money? Can I get a ride? Can you help me out? Can you do whatever? They say, after a while, sometimes they be like, why are you always asking me? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the opposite. When you ask Bani Adam more, they get angry. If you don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gets angry. He's the exact opposite. He wants you to come and ask Him. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. And when my servants ask of me, verily, most certainly, definitely, I am near. I'm close. And I answer the call of whoever calls on me. When? Whenever they call. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the Prophet ﷺ is teaching Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma that lesson. What we also learn from this is that you should be teaching your kids. Don't let somebody tell you we shouldn't teach our children aqeedah. This is aqeedah. This is what he's teaching his kids. That son, you have to believe in your heart. Young man, you have to believe in your heart. He's the one who's going to take care of you. He's the one who's going to help you. Go to him first. And that is a powerful lesson, brothers and sisters. For ourselves, first and foremost, and then for our young. But in general, teaching them aqeedah, planting that in their hearts. And one last thing. That idea, asking of Allah and going to Him, that is the essence of Islam. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. That is the essence of Islam. And then it goes on. Let me see here. And know that if the nations were together to benefit you with anything, they wouldn't be able to benefit you except with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already prescribed. And then the opposite. If they were to get together to harm you, then they wouldn't be able to do so with anything except what Allah has written for you. Right? So now, again, this is something that you're teaching your children about the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That sometimes you're going to get something, son. Sometimes you're going to get something, daughter. And alhamdulillah, if you got it. Rizq from Allah. It's already written. So don't break your neck. Don't bend over backwards for that, because if it's for you, it's going to come. Don't worry. And if it passes you by, then it wasn't meant to happen. Sometimes you're not going to get it. Sometimes you're not going to be able to have that thing you wanted. Sometimes something is going to, you're just not going to get it. But if you don't get it, that means it wasn't written for you. So don't be too sad about it. And again, this is an important lesson about teaching our kids, right? That you can't have everything that you want all the time, but to be content and to be satisfied with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with and that you have. But then also teaching them that this concept and this idea of destiny, that things don't happen haphazardly, that everything that happens is by the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything that happens is by the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tayyib. And not only that, but that it should also give them courage. That it should also make them brave. That they won't be afraid. Nobody can hurt you unless Allah has it written. Nobody can do anything to you. Nobody can harm you unless that's what Allah has written. So why do I have to be afraid of them? Right? And this applies, think about it even for us as adults. How many Muslims forgot about this when COVID was happening? How many people were like, and you have to take the shot and the booster, we got to shut down the masjid, and we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything, and we can't do nothing. And there was a period, yes, you take your precautions, absolutely, for sure. But some people took it to another extreme, as if we do all these things, then we'll be fine and we're okay. When throughout the Quran and even in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, it teaches us, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. No matter what precautions you take, no matter what you do, no matter how many boosters, no matter if there's a war, if you hide in a castle and you have your fortress and you don't even go out to fight. If Allah has written it's time for you to go, and the angel of death has an appointment with you, there is no rescheduling. There is no later on. So then why should I have to over worry about something that I don't have control over? The only thing I can do is prepare. Tayyib. And then lastly, he says, to further emphasize this, that the pens have been lifted and the ink has dried. رُفِعَتَ الْأَقْلَامُ وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفُ. Right? And this is just an eloquent expression to say that what has been written is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's already done. Right? And that's not going to change. It's not going to change. Right? And so, in summary, brothers and sisters, some of the lessons that we learn from this hadith. Number one is some fundamental ideas about tarbiyah and education, like teaching our young. It doesn't only have to be in a classroom. You don't have to be a scholar, sheikh, and alim. You do need to learn. You should be learning yourself as a parent, as a father, as a mother, as an uncle, as somebody who wants to get married, inshallah. You should be learning, but that doesn't mean I can't talk to my son about certain things. I can't talk to my kid. That's already the way that Allah made children, especially in the early stages. They are willing to take whatever from you in the early stages. From the time that they're babies up until the time they're about 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, whatever you say is like gospel. Right? Once they start transitioning to being teenagers, right? They're still willing to take from you if they're still connected with you, if you put in that time and you communicate with them, right? But now it's not enough to just say, do this, do that. You have to explain to them, you have to conversate with them, you have to more details. You have to hear what they have to say. You want to hear their input. But that's natural. Many parents are afraid, for example, of the Qawm Lut, right? The rainbow team, LGBTQRS. Huh? Many people are very concerned and scared and worried about this. How many sit down with their kids and talk to them about it? Not just say, A'udhu billah, astaghfirullah, whenever we hear something on TV or we see something on the news or you read, somebody sent you something from WhatsApp, this happened at some school or whatever, this book was given by a teacher, or this happened, the teacher said this at the school. How many sit down and say, Abo, Sufyan Fariso, Degeso, I need you to listen to me. I need you to, right now, we have to talk. What do you think about this? What did you hear? What did they say at the school? Right? Tayyib. Let me show you what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. This is what we need. This is what Islam says. Just talking to them about that. Wallahi, that in and of itself has a huge impact. Just you sitting down, just talking to them about it. Because remember, no matter what you do, if Allah has it written that they will be misguided, then they'll be misguided. So you are supposed to take your efforts in your hands. Before the imam of the masjid, before the sheikh, before some educator, before some teacher, before anybody else. Then, of course, as a community, we're supposed to corral together, discuss, figure out full-time Islamic schools and other possible ideas on how to address these different issues. But tarbiyah and education, right, is not only in the classroom. It could be when you're driving home from soccer practice, or it could be when you're washing the dishes with your kids at home or cooking with them. It could be after the salah, and you're sitting there and you make your adhkar. Even these are hadith, just one hadith, a few lines, and just discuss and talk with them, but make it normal. Tayyib. Second thing, being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means being mindful of His hudud. Whatever He commanded us to do, being mindful of that, protecting that. I pray the salah, not later on. I don't delay it. I'm protective of it. I'm mindful of it. Tayyib. And then, of course, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, putting our trust in Him and teaching our children to have trust in Him. And then also for us, the qadr and qada. These are just some of the lessons and the benefit that we get, brothers and sisters, right? From the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I ask that he teach us what we learned here tonight, that we take the best of it and what we heard, and that we implement it and practice it. And whatever shortcomings we have is from myself and shaitan, and whatever good that was mentioned here tonight is from myself and from shaitan. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you and increase you in nothing but goodness and protect you from every harm and evil. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this community and increase you in iman and in faith and make you a shining beacon and example for other communities. Barakallahu feekum wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. And our Ustad al-Fadil, al-Alim, as some announcements, inshallah.
A couple of quick announcements. Inshallah, we have the upcoming